Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Alfonso Brown, and I'm the clinical director at New Beginning Health PC. I wanted to thank you today for joining us in this episode of Let's Talk About Addiction, Lessons in Recovery. In today's episode, we're going to focus on a hypothetical situation which mirrors real events which are actually occurring in one of the major municipalities in our state. We're going to look at some of the issues associated with harm reduction, the management of individuals with drug addiction, its impact on local resources, and whether or not harm reduction strategies are applicable here, and what are the consequences and the benefits of this strategy. We have two outstanding invited speakers today, and I really look forward to having this discussion. Thank you again for joining us for this episode of Let's Talk About Addiction, Lessons in Recovery. Now, guys, and I want to thank you both for being here today. This is our inaugural episode of a new addiction-based podcast. Mr. Turner, you're a veteran. You have your podcast, and this is a little different. It's not a solo project in terms of the work we're doing for me. This is primarily to have you guys demonstrate your in-depth knowledge about various topics in addiction and also try to come up with some solutions. And so this is called Let's Talk Addiction, Lessons in Recovery. And each week I pick a couple of patients. I selected, asked 5 people yesterday, including Mrs. Radigan, if she's around. Mr. Turner, I was trying to reach her as well. She said she was interested, but I haven't been able to reach her. But the goal is to discuss a topic in detail, but first I want to introduce each of you, and then we can just jump right into the topic. It will not take that long. I'm very interested in what you have to say. For the audience out there, my name is Alfonso Brown. I'm a practicing physician, and I'm the clinical director at New Beginning Health PC. I see many patients a week, and 2 of our really true fantastic individuals and star patients are on the line right now. We have Mr. Mark Turner and Mr. Joseph Lauper, who are both here. And I'm just going to give them a chance to speak a little bit about themselves, tell us what they do, and then we'll get into today's topic, okay?
Sure. I'm Mark Turner. I'm a carpenter, a father, and family man. And I take a huge interest in the the recovery aspect and situation, and it's a big, important part of my life. I continuously research. I have a textbook right next to me. As a matter of fact, when you brought that up, I thought it was funny on, how to get better, how not to get better. This is a big part of my life.
Excellent. And Mr. Turner, tell us a little bit about your podcast. I want to give you some publicity for that as well.
Well, the podcast called Misfits Journal, and basically it's about everyday struggles or things that people perceive as normal, but they're not. They are everyday struggles. Like, for a quick example, parents coming home from work every day and needing to drink until bedtime because, they got home from work and that's how they have to cope, is they drink till bedtime. Or they go to the bar because they can't stand their wives, or they drink together. And I said, this is considered normal. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But it's not. This is what I would consider trauma. And this is what I would consider a lead up to a bigger problem.
It's funny how a lot of times we try to normalize certain things, and that's initially one of the coping mechanisms. But as we know with addiction, this can sneak up on you. And then a lot of times it's only later in that process that we realize that things have gotten out of control. I use myself as an example. For years, I was very athletic. I played sports, considered very, very fast, very strong. And then when I got into my professional years of training, I realized that the increasing stress drove me to eat at odd times. And also those habits persisted into my practice. So I've learned a lot from the work that we do in the clinic, And I'm working on that now, trying to really separate myself from stress eating and move down doing a combination of intermittent fasting, sort of detailed analysis of my habits and triggers and working on that. But again,
Oh,
it started off as something small. It was only later on as the pounds have put themselves on, you realize you can't do things, and that's when it really starts to impact you. And for me, it did in that way. All right.
right. Yeah, as it does.
Yep. That's right. Thank you
Yep.
for that intro, Mr. Turner. Mr. Lauper, I would like for you to introduce yourself if you
Oh,
can.
yeah.
Our patient Joseph
Yeah.
Lauper.
My name's Joe. Yeah, I don't know. I never know what to say. I'm a cook. I've been doing good for many years now, sobriety wise. And I usually try to keep myself always learning something new as far as the little tricks and hobbies that I do. Other than that, I usually just work and play video games.
Mhm. I know that you're an expert with acrobatic techniques and things like that. I've seen you doing some of your stuff. You're also a drummer, right?
Oh,
Is that
yes.
correct?
Yeah. That's
You
probably my
play
best
drums
instrument.
as well, or did play drums? Yep. Yep. And also at your restaurant, you were employee of at least once, I know, employee of the
Right.
month. You showed the same dedication that you do. Yeah, I see. I
I
spend a
think
lot
it
of
was a
time talking to
joke
you
at
guys, so
first,
I
and
know a
then
lot. And
it was real.
yeah, yep. No, knowing you, Mr. Lauper, I can see why. You've never missed a clinic appointment. You always show up on time, usually the first patient there when you come in. And you're very focused and a nice person. Actually, one of the patients who used to go here, Ian, he said to tell you hello. He asked how you were doing, and he
All
remembered you from
right.
before, from your commentary and your kind spirit during our discussion. I wanted to pass that on. He's moving to Austin,
Oh,
Texas.
wow.
So just wanted to go, oh, he's actually calling.
Nice.
Hold on. This is amazing. Hold on one second. Hey, Mr. Fesson, how are you? Uh, all right. I was just talking about you because we're in the midst of starting an episode of the podcast and wanted to see if you wanted to join us. But believe it or not, Mr. Lomper's on the line. And we literally, you can ask him, we were just talking about you. And then you called. I don't know if this is a good time for you. If you're not, it's okay. But in my country and in my faith, when that happens, they say that God is going to bless you and you're going to live long. So take it for what it's worth, my friend. No problem.
Is this something you're doing on
Yeah.
most Sat or Sundays?
Yep. We've restarted the Sundays, except now it has a podcast format. So you'd be invited on as a guest speaker. We have two on right now. You've met both of them, Mr. Turner, Mr. Lauper, and
Yeah.
we're gonna discuss the Mass and Cast case a different way. So I understand. If you're ever free, it's gonna be 3 o'clock on Sundays, okay?
Okay. Yeah. Let's plan on next weekend.
Okay, great. Great to hear from you. And
Okay.
remember, we got to catch up before you leave the area. All right.
Of course.
All right. Take care. We'll talk again. Bye bye.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye. All right. All right. So thank you again for your time, gentlemen. And I think we should just jump into it. Okay. So, a little background for those who don't know about this issue. In a section, and I thought about this. I mean, I can make this general. Actually, why don't we do that? Just so that, there's a lot of political stuff going on. So let's just say in a hypothetical city near a major intersection, the city has essentially adopted a harm reduction approach to dealing with a large influx of individuals who are recovering from drugs. And the reason why they're doing this is because they're trying to reduce things like incarceration rates and also decriminalizing what it means to be addicted. In that area, there's a nearby hospital, addiction clinics, and the hospital is one of the largest in the state for treating individuals who are in need of addiction treatment. There's also a police station and a jail. This are all within walking distance of this area. And the logic that's currently been employed is the fewer arrests that take place, this will likely prevent, as I mentioned, unnecessary incarceration and allow users to stay alive long enough to seek help. Um, essentially, we won't go into how this developed, but word spread quickly throughout individuals who were addicted to drugs within the area. And now people are addicted to opioids and other drugs travel from surrounding towns to congregate in this area, creating a constant, highly visible presence. And it's reduced over time for where it was at one time. There literally was what you would call a tent city there. However, that was really treated fairly well, reduced, but it seems to be coming back and is currently creating a problem. So the first question I want to ask you guys, does the presence of nearby services outweigh the harms of attracting more users to one concentrated area? And you guys, if you know a little bit more, I have some additional information which I left out about how this might have started. But if you know some information about that, feel free to bring that in as well, because I know you guys are aware of this and pretty well educated. And either of you, Mr. Turner or Mr. Lauber, you can start.
I mean, yeah, they do. I mean, it's kind of like a haven for them because they do have these resources that they need. Some are essential in case of emergencies, and some are just to help with the habit,
Okay.
whether it's clean needles or, there's fentanyl around. Obviously, that makes people feel comfortable. And all that stuff's great. But I would argue that was probably why so many people will congregate around that area because it offers those particular services. So you could go somewhere else, yes, but in the meantime, you're not going to have the supplies that you're typically given. You're not going to have the the medications that you're typically offered. God forbid you overdose, things of that effect. It would be more dangerous. So it's like their home base, I would say, essentially.
Okay. Excellent points. Excellent points. Mr. Lauper, what do you think?
Yeah,
Do you agree or?
it's definitely a
Are you good for
difficult.
that? Mhm.
It's a hard problem to face, especially when you're trying to outweigh or measure each. Because obviously, on the one hand, it's a good thing, but then there's like that's the nature of the beast, I suppose. It attracts more and more attention, and then eventually it is outweighed by the benefit. So I'm not really sure, like, if there is a way
So,
to, I don't know, sort of limit, well, then, yeah, I don't think that would work either. But yeah, it's difficult. I don't have much to
okay.
add in terms of solutions or anything. But personally, I know a lot of people that I used to talk to that they would set up in situations like that, and it would help them for sure. And sometimes it would save their lives because they were just around people
Mhm.
when they would OD or whatever. So I know just that alone, just the fact that it exists and prevents possible deaths is definitely it's a huge deal.
Okay. I would agree. Excellent points. Go ahead, Mr.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel for them too, in particular, because there's such a large group of addicts there that are in dire straits. Addressing a problem like that, I can't even wrap my head around it. I'm trying to figure it out. I write about it, I journal about it. Like, how could this be approached? But I consider these people just say there's different tiers of addiction. They were in what I would consider mine. And that's where I felt I was in so much physical pain from the emotional pain. And I was and I was in such a dark place and just sad and angry. And I just didn't want to exist. So I used just enough. That was my self medicate. I had to do that so I didn't have to feel like me.
Mhm.
And when somebody's in that boat, I think it's so difficult to get somebody out of it because you don't want to feel like yourself for 10 minutes.
Okay.
Obviously, it depends on your trauma, what's going on in your life at the time, but I know I didn't. 10 minutes was too much, and I had to, check out really quick. How do you address something like that? It's not as easy as saying, well, stay away from the substance. obviously there's a bunch of other issues that have to be taken into effect. I mean, what you do for a living is probably the most helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell people this all the time because for more than one reason. I said it at least buys you right. It'll keep you on your toes and clean and buy you time to clearly think and process what you need to process because you have problems that you have to work your way through.
Right.
It's just the fact. I mean, if you look at pretty much everybody who's had an addiction at one point or another in their life, if you look at their history growing up, they're all very similar. That it's
True.
a lot of them come from broken homes, strict fathers,
Mm-hmm.
broken, divorced parents, things to that effect, abuse, and it all, it's funny because it's all these people are doing the exact same thing. And it's like you throw around the idea that, okay, yes, there is maybe an addiction gene, but I would counter that and say I think it's more of a mental health gene. And I believe that the people are doing this because they lack the skills it takes to cope like a day to day person. And so they use.
Excellent points. Excellent points. I want to thank you guys. That's been great so far. And essentially, we have this dilemma because we have a harm reduction strategy, which has been in other settings shown to be helpful. A lot of it from the
Yeah.
the West Coast, northwestern area. But there are some issues, and one of the things that has come up is what we're going to discuss next. So I want to ask you guys what you think about this. So what happens is this harm reduction strategy has been in place, and in particular across the street from the epicenter, if you will, sits a fast food restaurant. And the owners of that restaurant report that customers avoid the store because panhandlers approach them in the parking lot. Employees are nervous about leaving work at night to get to their cars. They're worried about theft and harassment, and local politicians have talked about increased amounts of street crime. City officials tell the owners that the harm reduction policy, now, again, this is a theoretical. This is not actually what's happened in Boston. So I just want to say that again for anybody listening to this. We're just using theoreticals here. And in the case of this hypothetical story, the city officials notify the owners that harm reduction policy is meant to save lives and that it might not necessarily improve business, but they promise to monitor and do their best to help address the concerns of the business people in that area. And then the question I have for you guys is, should businesses be compensated when city policy directly causes loss of customers? Or is this just a part of urban life, almost like an eminent domain situation? They're dealing with it, so just hold on. We're going to try to address your concerns.
Uh, that's a good question. I really don't know the motive behind that.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Do you think it's fair? I mean, I guess when they started the business there, this wasn't the situation. And now it's
Right.
developed, and they might have their idea of what a policy should look like. It might be arrest everybody, and that might be a policy. There's a jail nearby. Put them in jail, even if it gets them off the street for 90 days or whatever. And I heard him. I was discussing this with another patient, and they said, "Yeah, just arrest everybody and throw them in jail, and that'll clean up the street for a while." What do you guys think about that?
I get that. Then doesn't it? I mean, when they're released, then what happens?
That's correct.
You know, what I mean?
Unless you're arresting everybody all at once, they're going to be released in a staggered fashion. So you're always going to have somebody coming out potentially as someone is going in. Is that correct? Now, how about you, Mr. Lauper? Any thoughts on the question again? If the businesses are being impacted, the local businesses, by this increased traffic there, and they deem the response of the municipality as not being adequate, should they just sit back and hold tight? Do they have a right to protest? Or should they take matters into their own hands, which we can discuss what that might look like. But right now, they were told the policy, and I'm trying to ask you guys if you think what their response should be. If you were that store owner, what would you be recommending at this time?
Oh man, I don't know if seriously, I'm just getting an echo. I think my app is acting up. It might just be me.
Yeah, I have what's called echo cancellation on for you right now, but we're not hearing an echo on our end at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't know where to start with that. I guess if businesses are being affected like enough, I would assume, on a case to case basis, there would be something that you could do. And if it gets bad enough, I wouldn't know what to do personally. But I would assume it would be frustrating. People would
Okay.
eventually want to do something, and that could lead to possible, you know, terrible situations, I would imagine.
And what do you mean by that?
Well, I mean,
Let's say you're
if
directing the budget.
if it's a business owner in a situation like that, I would assume there would be like an us versus them. Like even if they were aware of it when they started, there would be a separation or a line in the sand. Like they have their thing and they're just existing in this situation. So when it starts to affect them enough, I would assume there would be like a boiling point where even if, you know,
Gotcha.
administrators or, policies are given out and said that it'll be taken care of or whatever, it still might lead to, you know, some sort of lashing out or not permitting certain things or having crazy rules or stricter enforcements on their property or something like that.
That's right. Uh, Excellent. And you would agree, essentially, the businesses, they have a right to be heard, right? They should be heard in this situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, they absolutely.
Or should they just stand down?
No, I don't think they should stand down. I think that this is a two-way fight, and what they're looking for is the city to come up with a solution. The city's having a very difficult time coming up with this solution, but at the same time, our recovery program, maybe with the exception of like what you do in harm reduction treatment and stuff. Other than that, it really hasn't evolved in 50 plus years.
Mm,
So a lot of people, it's, you go to meetings, it's let's talk about substance, which is hilarious because one of the things that they tell you is never obsess over the substance, never talk about the substance.
Yeah.
And then that's all they'll do.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm not, it's true. Cause I mean, sitting in meetings, that was me. I'm like, all they're talking about is drinking and having good
Yeah.
times. And so
And that might
it's,
be a trigger for
it,
people.
absolutely, it could be a trigger for people. And then it's like when I talk to I'd call them clients, they're free clients, but
Mm,
clients nonetheless, who would call me and say, I'm going to rehab. My mom told me to call you, and I said, take out of rehab or detox what you can. I said, go get clean, healthy, feel good. I said, but they're going to sit you in a room and they're going to try to get you into all these separate programs. I said, really hear them out, listen to what they're offering you, see if it fits, see if it doesn't. And and I said the other thing, there's a reason why detoxes and rehabs and these things are growing in droves because they're making money. And they're making money because people are relapsing and people are addicted. And if we're being realistic, if everybody was sober, they'd all be out of business. Does that mean I don't think they want to help us? No. But I think they know who their
I never
board of
thought about it
directors
that way.
are. And I think they understand frequent flyers are certainly people that we need, and
oh, yeah.
they're our bread and butter.
Yeah. No,
You know,
that's a bunch of excellent points there. Bunch of excellent points. And we're actually going to touch on that subject in future podcasts. Two of the ones you specifically spoke about, the issue of abstinence in recovery versus medication-assisted treatment, which you mentioned, and then the other one was the issue of financial incentives for addiction management and how that might play a role into who gets recovery. I know one side of it, you read a lot in the paper about institutions who have been deemed as sort of too much on the for-profit end, and things get lost in the sauce with regards to that. But excellent points for both of you. As if we didn't have enough problems. So you can see why this is a challenge. So I told you there's also a large hospital facility in our, once again, hypothetical example. And this hospital visit, this hospital facility, as a result of what's going on right outside their doors, sees a sharp rise in emergency room visits for overdoses, soft tissue infections associated with various types of injectable substances, such as using dirty needles. And also, right now, there's another problem with, as you're familiar, it's a horse tranquilizer that people have been injecting.
Yeah, she was telling.
Very, very severe necrotic lesions when it's injected. They call it alligator type skin in terms of what the lesions look like, because it looks like you've been bitten and torn up by an alligator. So, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Turner.
What a horror show, just thinking about it.
Oh, yeah, yeah. No, I've seen it. Again, as a physician, I see these, and the hospital, unfortunately, reports being overwhelmed by this increased traffic right outside the door, but they're torn. The reason why is closing down their doors would likely be unethical, right? But constant overcrowding, it reduces the care quality that they can provide for non-addiction emergencies. If 75% of your patients are having complications associated with addiction, the other patients who are trying to use the same facility are going to suffer in terms of time and attendance to care. So, question for you guys: there wasn't enough controversy already. You guys are pretty sharp, so I told you I wasn't going to. Should the hospital be allowed to limit care for non-emergency addiction issues to preserve resources for other patients? Should that be, or should it just be whoever shows up? There are laws saying you can't be refused emergency room care, but they can also go on what's called diversion when they and send patients to other facilities, or just say our doors are closed. We can't deal
I
with
mean, I don't see why not. Like, honestly, if it was me, I would want to volunteer that somebody obviously sicker than I should take my place. I know that's not the world we will live in, believe me,
it.
but yeah, I mean, if it's something simple as maybe a detox protocol or something that can wait a little while, I don't see a problem with that whatsoever. Is that up for discussion?
Yeah, no, this is just another thing again. These are all hypotheticals that I've put together as looking at this case, just to provide a global perspective, because I mentioned part of this came from a discussion I was having with a patient in recovery, and his response was just get rid of all of them, lock them up, put them in jail. That way you get them off the streets. But as you already mentioned and pointed out, this doesn't deal with recidivist cases where people who get back on the streets. I had a patient tell me what they, in a similar situation, the area they referred to that they were going to, they called it as going on vacation. And the reason why is because everything you need is there. You don't have to leave the area, and you can park outside and hang out and get everything you need. So it's one of those things. And unfortunately, hospitals can get overwhelmed. And if they're dealing with all these addiction related emergencies, does that mean they care for other issues? And there are still a lot of issues that people come to the emergency room for. Is that going to be overwhelmed by this? And is there a way, should they limit the number of patients they can take? If you're a facility that does, cardiac surgeries on patients who have obstruction in their coronary arteries, and you have only 10 beds in the hospital, once you exceed 10, you got to send them somewhere else. They can't come to your facility because there's a place for them to go if they're all equally sick. Of course, if somebody's better, you can replace the bed. So in this scenario that we're talking about, once they get to capacity, should they keep taking more? Should they limit the number of patients they see with a certain perspective, knowing that the supply outside is going to be much higher of patients? Supply outside, I mean, of patients will be much higher than you might see in other places where there are not as many individuals concentrated in an area who are in recovery. So, Mr. Lauper, what do you think? Any issues? Should the hospital be allowed to limit who they see, or should it be they took an oath, they got to stick with it, and you can deal with it? Okay. Hmm. Okay. That's fine. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, man. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, you guys bring up excellent points, and I know we're nearing the end, and we might have to break this one up into more than one episode because I've got a couple more questions, and I know we're almost out of time for the discussion. And as you can see, it's been very robust. One thing I want you to think about: two things sort of happen. There's police always present at this, and what happens is when the police are sort of surveyed, they say they feel powerless. They're told not to arrest for simple possession. And so, as a result of that, you can guess theft and drug dealing become rampant. And the dealers are very subtle. They try not to appear to be dealers and work out these very sort of covert ways in which drugs, money, and supplies can be exchanged. The question I had, and we're going to end with this: should police be given more authority to act on drug sales in a harm reduction zone? Or would that undermine the police trust building intent? They want to build trust. They don't want the community to think that the police are coming down hard on them. But again, this is another one of these challenges. And it's not just particular to this area. In other cases around the country, this comes up as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, possession charge is a possession charge. They'll come and they'll give you one in the suburbs of Weymouth if you're just
Mhm.
walking down the street minding your own business. So why not do it in a, a hot zone in the middle of Boston? Yeah, I would be all for that. It would tie a lot of people up in court. Yes, it would certainly give them criminal records, but
Mhm.
at the same time, you're taking drugs off the street and you're relaying that, yeah, we have consequences for these things, legal consequences for these things. They may not help you, but these are still the consequences. So, you know what I mean?
Okay. How about you, Mr. Lumper? Excellent points, by the way, again, Mr. Turner.
I
Some
think
very serious of complex issues.
uh,
Yeah, I can't wait to talk to you about it again.
No, no, no. There's some more, including you guys can just a little hint on that formation of a vigilante force as well. These are things that are going to come up, and I want you guys to think about. This is a very challenging case, as I mentioned. It mirrors real world events, even though it's not the exact situation. I just want to say that again because we have respect for all the politicians and individuals who've been involved in trying to come up with solutions in the real world. And We're just sort of brainstorming and talking to theoreticals here. So I want to thank you, Mr. Turner and Mr. Lauper, for your participation today. And we're going to try and meet again in a week. We'll pick up from this point to work through this case and come up with some very good solutions.
Okay.
For the audience out there, we want to thank you again. This has been our inaugural episode of Lessons in Recovery, and we hope to see you again next week.
All right, great.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Bye-bye.